Ina Aissatou Smile Cisse, and today the camera doing at the All People's Congress Party office as the All People's Congress Party call a press conference, and also the Secretary General of the party, they can read out the press statement on the EU reports.
Now 112, 113, Honorable Alassane. And with us, we have the National Publicity Secretary, Honorable Comrade Sidi Yaya Tunis. With us, we have the President of the APC National Youth League, Comrade Bai Mahmoud Bagura. And with us, we have the Unifier, Comrade Dr. Richard Conte. With us also, we have the 2018 presidential candidate, Dr. Samura Matthew Wilson. By procedure and by principle, the person I'm introducing now should have been the last. But based on the fact that the one that I'm going to give the mic will be no less a person, but the person I will not call now. Ladies and gentlemen, with us, we have no less a person, but the deputy, leader and chairman of our dynamic party, Comrade Alhaji Mikhail Ansari. And without much ado, I am going to hand over the mic for the continuity of the program to no other person but our advocate, our scribe, our pen pusher. That's no other. But guess who I want to introduce? I want to introduce the mayor of Freetown, Mayor Leone. And without much ado, just use all those adjectives that I have been using and paste them on this personality that I have given the mic to. That's our defender. That's no joke. He is our defender. And he is the National Secretary General. He is the encyclopedia. Aji, Dr. Usman Foni Yansare. Over to you, sir.
Let me, on behalf of the National Secretariat of our party, welcome members of the press to this very important press conference. We are slated the holding of this very important press conference last week. Unfortunately, a disaster of dastardly proportion occurred when a petrol tanker exploded in the eastern end of Freetown. Thereafter, 3 days of national mourning was declared by the government of Sierra Leone. And it is as a deference to the dead that we decided to postpone the press conference on the EU report based on their findings and assessment of the political situation in Sierra Leone since the 2018 elections. We have decided to hold the conference today against the background of several important political developments in our country. Besides this dastardly death of our compatriots on the 5th of November, Other developments, such as the removal, I have said it is the removal of the Auditor General few weeks before she is to give an audit report on the state of the economy of Sierra Leone. She was asked to go to for indefinite leave. And the method used is not correct. We as a political party have made an initial press release admonishing the government to tread with caution. We've said that as a political party, we will support the government where they are doing the right thing. But we will criticize them and call them to order if we are convinced that what they are doing is not in the best interest of this nation. We also want to inform our APC supporters, the public in general, and our international partners that the state of affairs in Sierra Leone is not good. We must resolve, and we have, under the auspices of the consortium of progressive political parties, to also come to the aid of those who are taking care of our sick and depressed victims in the various hospitals, the doctors, the nurses, the cleaners, and the caretakers in general, to present gifts to them. The intention is to encourage them to do this onerous task of taking care of those who fell victim to the fire disaster. But we are also thinking, as a group of registered political parties, to go beyond that, and as individuals, political parties, to offer blood pro bono at the PCMH, which we are starting this afternoon. We already made an appointment to take some of our able-bodied and healthy comrades to visit the PCMH and donate blood. We will continue doing that in batches. They've requested for 10. Thereafter, we'll send more. Because the health of our depressed people is paramount to us. We have also visited the homes of many of the victims immediately after the disaster. We visited the hospital where they are receiving treatment. We made it clear that we are prepared to support the government agencies responsible for the management of disaster. And we will continue doing that. But having said that, let me draw your attention again to a statement we have issued relating to the suspension of Lara Affairs. We have said that due process is anathema to this government. They just want to do things the way they want to do it. Even where the president has the right, the NCRA will go and announce that they will conduct registration of citizens within a week, a set date. Thereafter, if you don't, you will not be allowed to vote. That power rests with the president. The law is the law. And if we say we should obey the law, obey the law. NEC, for example, the National Electoral Commission, is composed of the chairman and commissioners, and their appointment by the president should be in consultation with registered political parties. This they have not done. We've been making our reports about all the dastardly acts of this government since 1 week after their assumption of office. We've established what is called a compendium of reports, letters, press statements, etc. It provides very instructive reading. These are the documents we presented to the EU, for example. Today, we are going to respond. We're going to respond to the EU report. We as the APC, we made it clear that this report is a follow-up of what they did as far back as 2018, after the elections. The EU, the AU, ECOWAS, Carter Center, and a number of our local CSOs like NEW presented over 102 recommendations to follow so that we will obviate all the mistakes that happened during the 2018 election. But our government, the SLPP, BO-led government, has always referred to history. They say, oh, this is what happened in 2002. Who was in power in 2002? It was President Kaba, not President Nkrumah. But the Minister of Information referred to 2002, that after the 2002 elections, recommendations were made that were not followed. So because they were not followed in 2002, in 2018, we are not going to follow them. We participated in what is called reform by NEC, sponsored by the EU. And in that 3-day deliberation, we came to several conclusions. All registered political parties, CSOs, development partners, the government, the judiciary, NEC, PPRC, we were all there, and decisions were arrived at. And some of these decisions are reflected in the EU report. On that note, let me read the prepared statement by the APC in response to one, what we have learned from the EU report, which is not at variance with what we had said all the time, but which the SLPP is stubbornly refusing to accept by statements made by the judiciary in which their representative said the EU was lying. The response from the Minister of Information was also negative, that these people did not do their research. But we want to tell them or refer them to the website of the EU. The findings and assessment presented are based on facts which they could refer, which they could get in the website of the EU. Let me, on behalf of the APC, read our prepared statement. This is a press statement by the All People's Congress on the EU report. Headed, Demand for the Resignation of the Leadership of the Sierra Leone Police, the Judiciary, and the National Elections Commission head. Following the 2018 general elections, which ushered in the Sierra Leone People's Party government of President Julius Maada Bio, the APC, our international partners, and the general public have witnessed an unprecedented and systematic decline in the country's democratic and peace-building gains. This has happened owing to a completely disorderly transition and a deliberately skewed and emotional transition report, which laid the basis for ethnic hegemony and a dangerous political purge of the public and civil service. The fallout from that disorderly transition include improperly constituted commissions of inquiry, COIs, and an array of constitutional violations, state-sanctioned and electoral manipulations and violence, brazen miscarriage of justice related to political cases, and police/military brutality against unarmed and peaceful protesters and prisoners. More than 3 years after the President Bio-led SLPP government came to power, we in the APC have repeatedly and loudly raised our concerns over and protested against the agonizing and dramatic decline in Sierra Leone's democratic, peace, and human rights credentials. Sadly, the President Bio-led SLPP government has consistently treated and dismissed our legitimate concerns and protestations with reckless indifference. We are therefore very heartened that at this very crucial moment, when Sierra Leone is gearing up for the next general elections, our position on the worrying state of affairs has been verified and validated by many of our civil society organizations and one of our international partners, the European Union. The issues so aptly captured in the recent EU elections follow-up report are definitely not new, nor is the President Bio-led government's reaction to these revealing facts. To recall, we specifically raised concerns and protested against the Government Transition Team report, GTT report, the way the commissions of inquiries were constituted, and the harrowing spate of intimidation, unlawful arrests, and detention of protesters and of stalwarts members and supporters of the main opposition APC. We highlighted that this painful and accelerated reversal has been occasioned by the President Julius Maada Bio-led SLPP government's deliberate and systematic constriction of the democratic space through the unbridled overreach of the executive using the police force. Regarding the judiciary, on the 31st of May 2019, we pointed out and protested against the unprecedented usurpation of the electoral mandate of 10 elected members of parliament of the APC through their non-procedural and illegal removal from parliament by court order. Precedent to the abnormal decision of the court to remove our MPs from parliament, armed police were ordered on the 25th of April 2018 to brutally attack our entire 68 members of parliament in the sacred well of parliament. That was the day the speaker was to be elected. So, our duly elected members of parliament were subsequently forced out of parliament through brute force and prevented from voting for the speaker on that very day, even though the APC had the majority of seats in the House. Our number was 68 against 64 ordinary members of parliament. If you include the SLPP, C4C, NGC, and the independent candidate. They were 64, we were 68. We're not talking about paramount chiefs. It will be instructive to note that when an MP is found guilty of electoral malpractices by the court should not order their replacement with opposition runners-up. That is illegal. Section 1464 of the Public Elections Act clearly spells out that when an election is nullified, a rerun of the polls should be conducted. In this case, the APC MPs were illegally removed and the SLPP runners-up candidates unconstitutionally imposed on the people of Sierra Leone. These 10 members of parliament are representing on the average 50 to 60,000 people. That is a total of 600,000 people have been deprived of their right and deprived of the mandate they had given to these 10 members of parliament. Even worse, the same wrong and rogue procedure was upgraded to impose a speaker on the House of Parliament. Speaker is not qualified to be member of parliament, to be speaker there. The day they chased our people out of parliament, the 68 members, that is the day they voted for the speaker. That was the day they voted for the speaker. We have also noted and drawn attention to the refusal of the judiciary to assign 32 APC cases, while at the same time, those of the ruling SLPP party have been speedily assigned, adjudicated, and verdicts delivered. The petitions relating to MPs, the presidential elections results, and those of commissions of inquiry are some of the examples in reference. On the violence perpetrated by the police and the SLPP supporters against the APC, we further complain time and again about the unnecessary use of disproportionate force by the military and the police against unarmed protesters in Tonkolimba in 2019. A 14-year-old boy was gunned down by military personnel attached to the Chief Electoral Commissioner. In Tombo in May 2020, in Makeni in July 2020, and on the 29th of April 2020 at the nation's Correctional Center along Pademba Road in Freetown, among others. We recorded that in all of these incidents, innocent, unarmed citizens peacefully exercising their political and civic rights were confronted with brute force, resulting in needless loss of lives, injuries, arrests, and detention without bail or trial. We recorded that the Sierra Leone police launched unprovoked attacks on the APC headquarters in Freetown, injuring scores of our secretariat officers and supporters, as well as inflicting substantial damage on the premises. All of this took place in the full view of a complicit number of senior police officers, including AIG Kiley. We further observed and drew attention that as if in competition to annihilate the APC, SLPP supporters have been emboldened by and have taken cue from the police in unleashing violence against the APC. We reported that in Kailahun, in the eastern part of Sierra Leone, an APC supporter, Madam Sata Lamin, was gang raped by 7 boys, the age of her sons, and left in the bush to die. Abubakar Kamara, a 25-year-old zonal chairman of the APC of Sharif Drive, Lumley, was brutally bludgeoned to death by known SLPP thugs in broad daylight in 2018. 3 of the thugs were arrested, but were quickly released without explanation by the police. To this moment, the police have not investigated these heinous crimes, and no arrests have been made. We lamented this same inaction which the police adopted when a pharmacist wearing an APC t-shirt was killed in Bondape in the Pujahun district and his body dumped in the bushes. Furthermore, several houses of APC supporters were attacked and vandalized in the south and eastern parts of the country. In particular, a peaceful supporter of an independent candidate was attacked and killed during the run-up to a council by-election in Kailahun district. While in Bo, Michael Mansare, an APC supporter, was kidnapped by SLPP thugs in military fatigue and dragged to the police. His actual crime was for daring to commend former President Nkrumah for constructing in that part of the country a mini stadium, shopping malls, township and trunk roads, and other social infrastructure. Eventually, and following public uproar, Michael Mansari was arraigned on trumped-up charges of possession of illegal drugs, when in fact, what was found when his house was searched were painkillers, ibuprofen and diclofenac. He was sentenced to 8 months imprisonment. He has served his sentence and released on the 11th of November 2021. On the National Electoral Commission (NEC), we even went to court over the unconventional and haphazard announcement of the 2018 presidential elections, and we repeatedly highlighted the anomaly associated with the announcement of the presidential results and demanded the publication of the full disaggregated results, but to no avail. Then, we again highlighted the discrepancies, which we noted have become a regular occurrence in next conduct of by-elections. From Ward 196 in Tonkolimba in the Northern District of Cambia through to Constituency 110 in the Western area, onto the Ward and District Council elections in Koinadugu, we protested against the systematic pattern of institutional rigging in favor of the ruling SLPP party. We informed the public and drew the attention of the relevant authorities that this has been carried out through the manipulation of results or the entire election process by NEC personnel. We stated that this was done in the form of tampering of the result reconciliation forms or needless cancellation of elections. We have also noted the disruption of elections and the destruction of electoral materials by non-government functionaries, including cabinet ministers. We have further noted that these electoral violations have gone unchecked, owing to the failure of NEC and the police to take action against perpetrators. Of grave concern over the independence, integrity, and credibility of NEC, we have highlighted and protested against the deliberate dousing of NEC with personnel who are preponderantly from one region and one ethnic group, and with obvious leanings to the ruling party. In particular, we strongly objected to the arbitrary appointment of commissioners contrary to constitutional provisions contained in Section 32 and 33 of the 1991 Constitution and long-held democratic conventions. The latest of such arbitrariness is the imposition of the Commissioner for the Western Region, which led to strong objection by 13 out of 17 registered political parties and a parliamentary walkout, this time not only the APC, but by the NGC and some members of the C4C. Based on the above, the APC hereby categorically state that we have lost faith in the leadership of the police, judiciary, and the National Elections Commission, and that by their poor and politically compromised leadership, the heads of these critical national institutions do not have the credibility, integrity, and independence to serve Sierra Leone. The current minister in the Ministry of Development and Economic Planning, who is in charge of statistics Sierra Leone, should be investigated for waste of the country's meager resources by going ahead with the unprecedented midterm census. We demand also that Statistics Sierra Leone should stop all activities that they are putting up for this discredited midterm census. We are pleading with the World Bank and UNFPA not to support a process that is at variance with the laws of Sierra Leone. The contested and controversial census statutory instrument has not been properly laid in Parliament. The pilot census is also not legal. Many Sierra Leoneans have strongly supported civil society organizations and political parties in opposition to the midterm census. The people of Sierra Leone would like to ask the World Bank and other institutions to review their decisions to fund the midterm census. Continuing with midterm census has the tendency to create instability in the country. The EU report has highlighted and described the holding of such an exercise when elections are just around the corner as unnecessary. Now, therefore, while we applaud the EU for their forthright elections follow-up report and acknowledge the said report as a root and branch verified validation of our concerns over existential threat to democratic good governance, peace, and national cohesion, given the uncomfortable fact that the APC and the people of Sierra Leone have endured more than 3 agonizing years of constitutional abuses and state-sanctioned violence, noting with deep disappointment that the President Julius Maada Bio-led SLPP government, in their characteristic arrogance, have acted in bad faith in outrightly dismissing the independent findings of the EU, one of Sierra Leone's strongest partners in building and the consolidation of our nation's hard-earned peace and democracy, Being cognizant of the fact that intransigence on the part of the president builded SLPP government and the failure to, in good faith, accept legitimate criticism underscores an unwillingness to make amends and do what is right and needed for free, fair, credible, and peaceful elections. The APC herein demands, in the wider interest of peace, stability, and national cohesion, the immediate resignation of or removal from office the leadership of the Sierra Leone Police, the Judiciary, and the National Elections Commission. Signed, Ambassador Dr. Alhaji Usman Puri Al-Saneh, National Secretary General, APC. I thank you for your attention.